Welcome back to Zen. I'm Blastinus, and we have some jumping to do. And they're really trying to get us to shoot these things, but I am not going to shoot them.
Power level is 100%.
Originally, I had estimated that this would take about an hour and a half to 2 hours, but, well, as it turns out, if you know what you're doing, you can actually clear this first chapter in just about a little over an hour. And welcome to the other variant of a hound eye. I think it's called like a bull hound eye or something, but yeah, it's armored everywhere except for its eyes. So you have to shoot it basically right in the head, at least as close to the head as you can get. Or you can just blow it up. Blowing things up works too. And yeah, it has one heck of a shockwave. I've actually never seen one try to actually charge me. But I assume it could. Like, you saw it do that in that scripted action with the bull squid. And, by the way, you might have been seeing, like, these round canister things next to these, like, HEV guys that we've been running into. Those are, yeah, basically all-purpose things that contain any number of supplies. But they're very helpful to look out for because, well, they're going to be our primary source of resources, as we know. And yeah, like the way that the long jump works in this game, you can actually, like if you run into an especially like sloped rock, like you can actually go flying for a little bit. It's kind of funny, I think. So, what we're looking at here is, well, obviously more ichthyosaurs, but also a new sort of lock. Yeah, you have to actually, like, make these crystals descend in order to power something that they're connected to. We're going to be seeing this from time to time. Yeah, if I'm going to be honest, rockets aren't actually that effective against these things. Yeah, the way to go is always, like, the practical methods. Like, things that you can do, like, a direct hit with. And why am I doing this, considering that you can just, you know, lily pad jump over? Well, it's because I have a particular vendetta against them. I hate them. Now then, moving right along. Yeah, it looks like we got to power up another wire. This seems like something that wasn't here, like, it wasn't something that we set up, but rather maybe it was something that the more intelligent denizens of Zen put together on their own. And actually, one thing that I've neglected to mention is that, at least according to like developer notes, Zen is actually not the home for a lot of these alien species that we're coming across. It's called the Border World because it's sort of like an intersection dimension one that things have to kind of cross through if they travel between dimensions. So, at least from what I've read, a lot of the alien creatures that we've encountered aren't actually native to Zen, but have instead traveled here from other places. For whatever reason, we do not know yet. I know what that's all about. I've never bothered to dive and check. And just ignore that, actually. Like, my right mouse clicky finger has the tendency to twitch now and then. So, yeah, I'll just kind of fire things without wanting to. We're actually coming to the, well, not to the end per se, but we're coming pretty close to it. But first, we need to encounter another variant. It's an inverted barnacle. Instead of dropping like a single tongue, it instead uses like a set of 3 sort of hand-like flippers in order to grasp things and drag them down. They're not too bad as long as you're able to keep above the water line. Yeah, this section here can actually prove to be quite dangerous if you slip up, so, you know, just a little bit of insurance. It should be noted that these lily pad things actually sink below the water, so yeah, you gotta watch out for that. You can't really linger for long. Man, I wish there was a way to shut these things off if you had, like, full health or something. Or full battery, I should say. Like, the only way to deactivate that annoying, like, emergency ping is to remove the battery from the suit. And obviously you can't do that if you don't take the battery out. Now this island here, does this look familiar? Yeah, it doesn't have the spires sticking out of the top, but this is the island. The island. The only one in the original Zen, albeit colored purple instead of green. And wait, what is this? You saw that, right? It teleported in. Seems like there's something written on this. Yeah. Cat's gotta be out of the bag shortly, but this game is solving a little bit of a plot hole that was in the original Half-Life. In that, once you teleported to Zen, the Lambda team basically just kind of disappeared from the story. Whereas here, they're trying to show the Lambda team actually providing support by sending in resources. I guess that whole, like, alien controller attack managed to kind of calm down after we left. But the point is that, yeah, we're not actually alone here, and remember, there are tracking devices in our suit, so they can keep track of where we are, dimensionally speaking, because also, yeah, Zen isn't like another planet like thousands of miles away. It's a mirror dimension, possibly adjacent to our own. So what that means is that, theoretically speaking, they don't actually like have a lot of distance they need to send things. Like, they just need to send them sideways. If you catch my meaning. Alrighty. Now, grenades, they sometimes work on these barnacles, sometimes don't. But you know what absolutely does work underwater? Yeah, that's right. It's time for the handgun to actually make itself useful. I tell you what, like, every weapon in this game has a use. Whether it's one that you can usually encounter or not is another question. Like, trip mines, we've established, are of minimal usefulness, but nonetheless, they can be used. Even snarks. They... okay, maybe not as useful as other things, but yeah, they can be used. Sure, why not? I really do actually like the Zen soundtrack. It is very, well, Zen-like. That's Zen with a Z, not an X. But yeah, nonetheless, it's sort of... it's very just tranquil. I really like the sound of it. The composer just did a really good job. Thanks again, guys.
5% power level is 100%.
So, as we did in the original Zen, our goal is going to be to find a room with a teleporter that we can use to get to the next chapter. Well, that's a little bit more straightforward than, you know, the original, where we had to sort of like crawl through a tiny space and then break a little bit of, I don't know, alien matter, kind of like a membrane. Here, the island is a little bit more deliberately put together, where things do appear to be constructed on purpose, so to speak. A little bit of platforming here, and yeah, alien power cords. They look kind of like vines, but they're carrying power through them. Ingenious, don't you think? here we are at the control room. Not much to say here, like, just gotta press the button and off we go. Yeah, you probably realized it wasn't going to be that easy. Oh well. Time to do a little bit of creative maintenance. As with everything, you can't just activate 3 lasers and have that be that. Well, you can, but it's always going to be a little bit more involved than whatever it was that you did in the original. So yeah, I was talking before about how the design for Zen machinery kind of like does away with the whole idea of cold, unfeeling metal. So while there obviously is sort of a metallic look to this stuff, it's got more of a feeling of being, I don't know what's the word, shiny, like a little bit, sort of like, it's organic looking, even if it isn't organic. Like it's got that sort of like tendril and vine appearance to a lot of things. Now then, in every station we need to reestablish power, and we need to turn on the laser. And then the way will open to the next segment, usually indicated by, yeah, green lights coming on. No backtracking, I'm afraid, but honestly that's probably for the best. We wouldn't want people to get confused in this sort of setup here. So everything, once you put it in place, basically gets locked off, pushing you constantly forward to your next task. Alright, so what we gotta do here is, well, yeah, always be on the lookout for these exploding pumpkins. Usually they're very good for, like, removing obstacles from our path. Like so. However, there is another thing that we have to remove before we can advance, so it's time to do a little bit of a roundabout route. Now I suppose you could ask, how the heck did all of this work before it got broken? But, well, that's not really the point now, is it? You've already sort of established that this is basically just a game. And that trying to figure out how the folks in Zen were able to get all this working is sort of, that's not really the whole point of the exercise. The purpose was to make Zen fun, and they have. What more else do you need? I mean, no matter what, Zen was always going to be a little bit unnatural. It's just sort of the nature of the thing. Anyway, are you ready for another bomb room? Yeah. If we trigger any of these pumpkins, then the whole place goes up and we die. But, well, the next room has a solution for us. Yeah, the science team has rather conspicuously dropped us some satchel charges. So, here's what we gotta do. You gotta realize that you can take power cords from any outlet, turn on this door here, and then realize that closing the door will shield us from the blast. And boom. Kind of an underwhelming boom, but we gotta do one in here as well. Et voila! We have a crystal, and the power station is unimpeded. It's kind of embarrassing how long it took me to figure that one out. The trick is understanding that, as I said, you can take wires from any outlet that they're connected to. As long as the tendrils haven't closed around it, then you're good to go. Like you see there, like you place those wires and now they've been closed in and you can't move them. Well, that's the Black Mesa folks telling you, like, you're done, you don't need to do any more with this particular puzzle. They're very helpful with that, like trying to give you some very minor hints in order to tell you when it's safe to proceed, rather than forcing you to trial and error it. Now, just one more outdoorsy section. I think I've had enough of hound eyes. And in fact, I do believe that at least we won't be seeing hound eyes in as many quantities as we've been seeing them. I don't quite recall if they show up in later chapters, but I'm reasonably sure that we're not going to be seeing like roving packs of them again. And if I'm wrong, well, oh well. Bearing in mind, of course, I said after this chapter. So then. Yeah, we've seen this before, but now it's time to add a little bit of a twist.
Hazardous chemical detected.
In that they want us to do 2 jumps onto crystals. No biggie. Once you get a little bit of understanding of how the long jump works, then you can definitely compensate in midair in order to stop your momentum or give yourself a little bit of a backwards step. So then, this one is going to be more of a complicated wire puzzle. First off, we need to find ourselves some wires. Like these ones right here. No clue on what this actually does, but well, it's not doing whatever it is anymore. So this wire, it could be connected to the top one, but it's too short, so we just need to connect these 2 plugs here. What we actually need is to find ourselves a longer cord. And the answer, as I'll soon remember, lies through that hole. Yep, there you see it. Now they could have been mean and have had the door close once we remove the plug from it, but, or the wire I should say, but really what's the point? Like, this is supposed to be just a simple barrier. Like, we're not trying to play, I don't know, an adventure game or something. Half-Life is sort of a thinking man's shooter. Sort of. But at the end of the day, it's also supposed to be fun, right? So, yeah, they're not going to really give you any big brain teasers that would actually confound the average layman who isn't a scientist. Which people have, some people anyway, have interpreted to mean that while having a PhD, Gordon Freeman himself is actually kind of a jock in terms of scientists. Like, he never actually has to do anything more complicated than pushing buttons or putting wires in place and things like that. It altogether gives the impression that, well, while I'm sure that he is intelligent, he never actually has to do any intelligent things. And in fact, like, if you recall, there were some scientists being like, you know, with my brains and your brawn. But oh well. They can underestimate us at their own peril. Well, we'll just have to see about that, won't we, mysterious brain voice? I'll be seeing you guys again in the next chapter. Have a good night.